Once again, we're back on Egmont Sochi Tea Talk Train of Thought with a series of an episode with Dr. Sandhya Saran, exclusively on Tea Talk Egmont Sochi. She is a gynecologist and in fact have got a passion of singing, acting, yoga, multiple tasking, and she was also past president of TOPS, that is Thane Obstetrics and Gynec Society in 2021. And in fact, it's a great, interesting insight to what we are getting from her journey. Ma'am, welcome back again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think it's an interesting insight to what the Tea Talk audience they are getting out of your journey. Now, ma'am, in fact, once you were there in MBBS, what are the challenges which you have faced in the milestone? Many times it so happen once you enter and the mindset changes, but how focused you were
Yes, I would say one thing. When you take up medicine, you have to be mentally very strong because you know that you're going in for a course which is very tough. It involves not only a lot of study, but it involves a lot of mental strength and determination also. Because a few people, what happens is they get into medicine thinking that, okay, fine, they see the end product. They don't see that the journey can be very tough in terms of it requires not only physical strength, but also it requires a certain amount of tenacity. So if you're not able to cope up, what happens is coping up with the curriculum, coping up with your peers, and also with your teachers, because you have all kinds of teachers and you have erratic hours. So it is not as if it is a 9 to 4 kind of a thing. You have rods, you may have to stay for emergency duties, you may have to learn round the clock. So you have to be able to rough it out. So that is something sometimes which I feel is daunting, and some students find it difficult to cope and they do crumble under the pressure because this is something which they did not envisage when they joined. So I think you should have a clear picture and you should be determined that come what may, I will live up to the challenge and I will continue on my path.
And doctor, also many times to pick up the terminology of medicines and to spell out those kind of words becomes a challenge so how you were coping up with those kind of medical terminology
Oh yes, most of our words come from Latin.
Yeah.
And it's like a tongue twister. So we are taught mnemonics, or we ourselves manage to make mnemonics. Suppose there is a big disease which has a huge name. So we'll have something like LAMP. L stands for this, A stands for this, the entire disease. So we divide it. So it becomes very easy for us to, recapitulate and to get the name into our. So it is, we all develop our own methods.
Okay.
And mnemonics do help.
And very first, when you went into medicines and when the professors, they were talking about some terminology and then to spell sometimes it takes time to get into an auto mode
Oh yes, first of all, I would say one small incident, I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist. So most of the times people find it very difficult to spell. Obstetrician, so it is not easy, and even the spelling, even nowadays when I go anywhere and they write my, my designation, so people always make mistakes.
Yeah.
So gynecology also, whether there is an NAEC, so, or NEC, so it is like a lot of things.
Okay.
So many of the words are very difficult, I would acknowledge that, but then you learn.
Okay.
Yes.
And then how you got involved into this gynecology and obstetrics?
See, when I just had my first posting in obstetrics and gynecology, you are required to do ward rounds. You're required to assist in deliveries and even learn. So when you see a miracle happening every day, it is sort of I would say not only a revelation, but it's very intriguing. And then a new life comes in and how it comes about. So this is something I found very interesting. And obstetrics and gynecology is not just about labor and delivery. It is also about diseases of the reproductive system in women. So, and it involves screening. Nowadays we know breast and cancer,
Cancer.
cervical cancer,
Cervical
is the foremost cancer in women.
Mhm.
So, there are a lot of awareness that goes about it. Then there are so many issues, reproductive issues,
Mhm.
infertility.
Mhm.
So it has so many multiple, kind of branches to it.
Okay.
So I
And,
think I was very, very enamored by the entire science of
Okay.
this.
And now, in fact, for the benefit of a target audience, can you just differentiate between the obstetric and the gynecology, how it differs, like, so they get the clarity, like, oh, these are the things which are there.
Absolutely. So, in India, basically, we do our MD, our post graduation in both obstetrics and gynecology. As far as this branch is concerned, mostly all over the world, it is one.
Mhm.
But obstetrics deals with pregnancy, childbirth,
Mhm.
labor, and care of the
Mhm.
pregnant woman, as well as delivery and
Mhm.
postnatal care.
Mhm.
Whereas gynecology deals with the reproductive system, that is the uterus, the fallopian tubes, the ovaries,
Mhm.
anything to do with that
Mhm.
in the sense of diseases,
Mhm.
or it deals with infertility issues,
Mhm.
or even ovarian problems
Mhm.
and infections,
Mhm.
and also family planning. So
Mhm.
there are multiple aspects to gynecology, but obstetrician is one who's restricted more or less to pregnancy and care and death.
Okay, and in fact, in your tenure of MBBS, like, you might have dealt with different cases and all. Like, once you went through the learning curve, so what are the challenges you have faced in the learning curve, like, while being part of medicines, like?
See, when you're doing your MD, during MBBS, of course, like you said, coping up with the curriculum, coping up with the terminologies,
Mhm.
all that is very difficult. And when you're doing your MD, that is a residency,
Mhm.
that is a completely different ballgame.
Mhm.
A resident doctor is required to stay on campus.
Mhm.
And you have emergency duties, you have various kind of duties,
Mhm.
operation theaters
Mhm.
on certain days, OPDs on certain days, different kinds of OPDs.
Mhm.
And then when you're on call, then you are on call for 24 hours. So whatever comes in that 24 hours, you are supposed to do labor ward duties.
Mhm.
There are cesarean sections, there are
Mhm.
complicated deliveries.
Mhm.
So you keep learning different things,
Mhm.
and it requires a lot of both mental and physical strength.
Mhm.
Many a times you don't get to eat, you don't
Mhm.
get to sleep.
Mhm.
So these are the basic challenges which everyone faces. You're
Yes.
sleep deprived,
Mhm.
you are tired, you
Mhm.
sometimes feel you don't have the determination or the energy to focus.
Mhm.
Sometimes in the morning you've not slept the whole night, so you are not really there.
Mhm.
But you have to be alert. You have to be absolutely,
Mhm.
in the moment, because
Mhm.
it is a branch which is dealing with human life.
Mhm.
So that is something which is very challenging.
And the target audience who are listening to Dr. Sandhya, like, probably, I think, would like to know how you could balance and navigate and come out with a flying colors to what we see Dr. Sandhya today, like. So can you share with the target audience, like?
In fact, I think it is the other way. People who are doing management, sometimes we feel the management people know how to balance time and all.
Yeah.
But I believe it is something which you learn.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you have multiple interests, when you feel that you want to do this also and that also, it is not possible, like they say, jack of all trades. It's not possible. You have to find time for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like even a homemaker,
Mm-hmm.
she has to find time for her family, to cook, to clean, to look after herself.
A best manager.
Similarly, yes. So similarly, I think managerial skills, they come to you. It all depends on how you have to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
What is important?
Mm-hmm.
What is important to you? What makes you happy? How much time you need for each thing?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you have to be very careful that you don't neglect your own health
Mm-hmm.
as well as your family. So the best thing is when you're studying, you basically have that entire time to yourself. You don't have family responsibilities at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one thing which you can, it is a big asset that you can focus on your studies and yourself
Mm-hmm.
and develop further. So I would say it's very important to prioritize
Mm-hmm.
and then manage the time.
Great. I think I might say, if you're listening to Dr. Sandhya Saran on this Tea Talk Ek Bund Soch Ki, the interesting journey of her into medicines and how she balanced and her professional life and also passion towards singing, dance, and yoga. Like basically, life is all about how you balance yourself. I'm sure the target audience who are listening to her, there's a lot of insights and the motivation for you to navigate as far as your life journey which are concerned. Do catch up with Dr. Sandhya Saran in our next episode of Tea Talk Ek Pan Soch Ke. And if you like this episode, go to www.teatalk.net. Subscribe and like the channel as much as you can. Dr. Sandhya, thanks a lot for being part of the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
God bless
Thank you.